Is your life real to you? If I prick you with a pin, will you get upset? You have a certain reality? The celestial kingdom has a massive reality which embraces 12 dimensions. Each dimension has 3 primes. Each prime has 7 fractals. Now that's a reality that dwarfs any reality you think you're experiencing. It makes it just the tiniest little blip on the radar screen. So when you ask me, is the celestial kingdom just a dream? It sounds to me like you're trying to dismiss it as being not real. It's extremely real. But is it still a dream state? Well, that's an interesting question. It's an interesting question. At some point, dreams either fade over time, because people don't know what to do with them, or they become visions. Now that's another interesting thing. I remember when God first asked me to write this book, it was God's dream. And in the beginning it was a possibility for me. It wasn't even my dream. It was certainly God's dream, which God expressed, and I was very influenced by that. But I embraced God's dream, worked on it, and the book exists because I see people holding the book in their hand. So now the book has gone beyond the dream, although it began as such, and contains within its cover not dreams, but visions. A vision on a scale of magnitude. It'd be like a dream to the 10th power, the 20th power. It depends on an individual. Dreams become real when someone makes them real. To do that, you have to spend your life. You have to take something that's precious to you, the breath of your life. Every word you speak is made of breath. Every action you do, every action is powered by breath. The words I speak are spirit, and they are life. Remember Yeshua saying that? The words that I speak unto you are spirit, and they are life. And so you take the breath of your life, and you apply it to a dream, and in the process, as long as you don't stop, the dream becomes a reality. You hold it in your hand, or you hear it with the ear, or you see it with the eye. It applies itself to your senses and has gone beyond the dream state to that of vision. And it is vision that shapes reality. Dreams are where you start. So if I step within Suranatha, I'm looking at a fait accompli. Something has been accomplished by the gods over an extraordinary amount of time. An amount of time that cannot be measured in years, but has to be measured in eternities, which is how many years? How much is one eternity? Huh? 17.5 billion. 17.5 billion years, as you understand the word year. Well, that's a long time to be working on something, and it has gone past dream into vision. So if I step within Suranatha, I don't see dream, although lots of dreaming's going on. What I see is vision, a fait accompli. We all have dreams, and until you apply your life's breath to it, the energy, it'll just stay a dream. Isn't it worth the air it's made out of? I hear a lot of sugar talk. That's exactly what it is, sugar talk. I mean, a lot of these books out in the bookstores that pass themselves off as New Age this or New Age that, or this is just fluff, cotton candy fluff for stupid brains. You know, just because you write something that's syrupy and sugar talk doesn't mean it has value. How do you build something with this? This isn't dreaming, this is pablum for little tiny infants who don't know their butt from a hole in the ground. They're not even potty trained, spiritually speaking. You know, cotton candy fluff for the mind. It has no value. Sugar talk, to me, has absolutely no value whatsoever. You know, I've had New Age people try to attach themselves. They wanted me to compromise, yield a little bit, give a little bit. You know, we can increase your numbers. There's a lot of us. You know, we like what you teach, but we want to add this and we'll increase your numbers. I don't care about your numbers. I said, this here has meaning. What you're doing is devoid of any. It is absolute mindless silliness. And only an imbecilic moron, 2 steps away from being back in their diapers, would actually read this stuff and take it serious. Said there is no constructual pragmatism within any of these writings that you're pointing to me as being good. How do you construct something with them? What do you do with it?
And so we can bring things into existence through dreaming and inspiration.
Well, that starts, but you have to put your life into it. And that's something that most people are not willing to do. They always wait for someone else to do it. You know, or it's all too much effort, or they hit the first stumbling block, which is generally themselves. My greatest stumbling block was not my lack of education. It was not my friends and neighbors and family telling me I wasn't good enough to do it. My biggest stumbling block was me. I was the biggest stumbling block. You know, but I got beyond the stumbling block simply because I actually knew Heavenly Father and Heavenly Mother. I actually see and talk to them. And they keep saying the same thing. It's a song they never got tired of singing in front of me. And so I didn't want to disappoint them, regardless of what the hell I thought about myself, personally. I just kept doing it. Until one day I came to realize I am the only person who can write this. Not because I'm good enough. Who's good enough? Point to someone who's good enough. But because I was strong enough, tenacious enough to do it. I was absolutely relentless. You know, it didn't matter how bad my day was going. Didn't matter. I could have the most heartbreaking personal disaster take place today, for instance. I mean, that didn't happen today, but just if something happened, I would get up tomorrow and do my work. You know, I have an obligation. That my personal tragedies have nothing to do with it. We all have personal tragedies. We all have disappointments. We all go through rough patches. You know, I'm not some little child's toy wagon that falls apart when it hits a pothole. You know, I'm a damn Sherman tank. I hit a pothole, I tend to crush it. You know, I'll make it flat. You know, I'm just that way. It wasn't until I was in the desert, Gabbs, Nevada, 2002. It was February. I was waiting for Heavenly Father and Heavenly Mother to show up. I was in that little gully about 6 miles from the house, way the hell out in the flats. There's a little gully, there's little trees and a little spring. And I was looking at the night sky. I had my book in my backpack. It wasn't these nice books, but I had the book. And I realized why God chose me. That God was right. Regardless of what I thought in the beginning, God was right. God picked me for several reasons, but one of the reasons they picked me was because I am extraordinarily tenacious. If I say I'm going to do a thing, unless I'm on my deathbed, I'll do it. And even on my deathbed, I'll still be doing my work. Trying to get as much done as possible. There are other reasons why they chose me. One is I happen to be Azrael. But in the beginning, you don't know that. I didn't know that. God didn't give me a magic pill and wake up my brain and go, oh, geez, I special. I'm Azrael. I never thought that. I used to think God was just a little bit ditzy, a little bit, about a half a bubble off plum. But he was God. I'm determined. I happen to be Azrael, and I had another great quality about me. I had no illusions about me. Extraordinarily valuable. Had no illusions about myself. I never thought I was special, not until, February 2002, sitting out in the desert, and then I realized, oh my goodness, I am Azrael. In the meantime, I had already finished the book, except for the 5th, 6th, and 7th endowments. I don't think I'd written the 7 I Ams yet. I think I began writing that just after that experience. Heavenly Father showed up, Heavenly Mother showed up. We had a nice conversation. But I listened to them differently than I did in my past. What they said became iron to me. I just applied myself to it. But everybody has that capacity. Who wakes up in the morning going, boy, ain't I special? Not unless you're a megalomaniac or you're really narcissistic.
So is that kind of like free agency where you became, at that moment, even more their dream?
I had free agency when I was doing the work. When I did the work, I had free agency. When I was not doing the work, I had will like everybody else. Since February 2002, I have come to dwell within God's free will. I like everything I do. Doesn't matter how events move around me. I exist within that agency that gives my life profound meaning to myself. I don't think about how other people look at me, since I can't get in their heads. I don't know what's in there. But I know how I look at me. And when I look in the mirror, I have to chuckle. And I'm not chuckling at the absurdity of my claims. I chuckle at the reality and when you compare that to the disparity of what I see in a mirror. This bald-headed old guy. That to me is funny. There's being hid in common sight, hid in common view. That to me is absolutely hysterical. And so I have a very good sense of humor. You know, when Heavenly Father and Heavenly Mother showed up in my bedroom around, I don't know, 3 or 4 a.m., June 2nd, told me I could come home, my job was done. You know, one of the things I thought about was, what extra could I do here to help things along? What extra things could I do? And it became fun. Every day for me is fun. I like what I do. I like the people around me. I like events. I don't too much dwell on the negatives, you know, because we all have them. Whim and circumstance happen to absolutely every person, and I don't walk on water. I don't raise the dead. I don't do any of these things. But there is one thing I do better than any other human on this planet. I can make God real to those who really want to know God. That I can do. I am the master. This is what you call a pregnant pause.
So what if you, person has this dream and they work at it and then they make it a vision, and then in the creating of the vision realize that it's a lame one?
Been there, done that.
So then you kind of start over, find a different dream that's more aligned with...
Well, what rescued me is God showed up with a better dream. And so I latched onto that. All my dreams before that sucked. You know, I lived my life. You know, I could not see past my disillusionment, could not see past my anger, my rage, could not see beyond the hurt, disappointment. We all have them. I was caught within that orbit. And it took something really extraordinary to pull me out of that orbit and have me orbit something else. Well, what I orbited was the reality of seeing the Heavenly Father and Heavenly Mother and seeing the archons and the cherubim and the seraphim, and that was extraordinary. So I applied myself to that. But I've been there. I mean, I've been in that part of life where the things you work on, you think they're great, and then you find out how thin they actually are. You know, I really don't have any merit worth spending a lifetime trying to create. You know, just do what you say you're going to do. Don't say you're going to do something and then lose heart and walk away. You know, I don't walk away. Have I lost heart? Oh, my land of Goshen. Have I lost heart? Absolutely. You know, you bet I have. Have I been disappointed? Absolutely, you bet. You know, but it never stopped me from going back to goodies or going to the press box, sitting down and writing. What I did is I used my disappointment, I used my frustration to capture the beauty of God's song. What do you do with your pain? I know what I do. I use it. It becomes the fire, you know, that allows me to capture the beauty of God's song. So what do you do? Have I ever been discouraged? Yep. Disappointed? Yep. Disillusioned? Yep. Have I ever been down in the dumps? You betcha. I've been so far down in the dumps You know, I couldn't see daylight, but I still did my job. You know, what allowed me to do that was the fact that I know Heavenly Father, I know Heavenly Mother. You know, eventually they'll show up and ask me what the hell I've been doing. Well, I don't want to say, well, I'm sitting out in the backyard on a pumpkin because I feel so bad. I sure as hell wasn't going to say that. You know, I wanted to show them, well, I've been doing this, I've been doing that. You know, Heavenly Father or Heavenly Mother will sometimes ask, well, how do you feel? I say, it has no meaning, it has no bearing on what you asked me to do. That's irrelevant. You know, of course, Heavenly Father would just laugh. He'd just chuckle. Because I'm a guy, you know, work defines us. You know, the gender, men are defined by their work. So it doesn't matter how you feel, you do your job. I don't think you can go through anything I haven't gone through. Heavenly Mother certainly gone through it. Where have you gone that I have not gone before you? What burden have you carried that was greater than my own? You know, yeah, well, everybody goes through it. Mortality's kind of rough. If you're gonna make it, you got to be tough. Are we done?
Yeah, we can be done.
Because if we don't end it now, I'll start singing and dancing, and that'll be terrible.